Well, hello, hello, hello. I'm so glad to be back. I pray that you're ready to hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying in this part of the book. I'll tell you, it has been a challenge. I had to come back because for some reason, the network, or I caused it, I was not able to get the sound. So I had to come back, and so I'm here to talk from my book that I've been talking on my nightlight that I was supposed to talk to you guys on last Sunday, but I didn't get a chance to. But I'm still teaching how to win scars speak. Wow, I really believe that we got to talk about this because we got so many people who are still speaking out of their scars. And the reason why they do is because a lot of times the things that we think that are asleep, it wakes up, and the next thing you know, it is speaking on behalf of whatever it is has caused us to overlook the pain or the thing that seemed like, wow, I thought I got over that. But I want to say welcome. I'm so glad that you joined me again tonight for this nightlight, and I pray that something will be said here again that will make you want to come back again and join me. Come on, let's take a deep breath. I pray you got your coffee, your tea, got your pen, your pad, and guess what? I pray that you are truly listening in. There's a lot to talk about right now, but I want to be very, very sensitive for those who have been through a lot and for those who may be still being challenged. And so I want to give you the opportunity to kind of think about what I've talked about last week in regards to those areas that sometimes relationships, whether you're married or not, or whether if you are married, then it's even harder because you got to go to bed together. And so I really want you to think about those areas. I want you to think about those areas that we sometimes say, I'm done with that, I'm over that. And we really, really never got over it at all. And so tonight, I just really want to kind of go through this chapter and give you an opportunity to go along with me. And so if you haven't got the book yet, you can get it on Amazon, and it is When Scars Speak. And in here, as I said in the very first one, I talk about those invisible scars that shape our parenting, our relationships, and all of that. And so that's why it's so important for you to think about getting the book, so that some things that you'll find in here, it'll help you think about your own life, in your own relationships, in your own situations that sometimes go to sleep with us. And guess what? Eventually is going to speak to us. And so tonight I am reading from page 61. And again, welcome. Okay. I'm going to read here, right here. I need you to catch this. I know that God is talking to us all, as I said before, about those silent anger things, those things that disappoint us, those people who think that they got something, how they say, easy for us to feel like we're going to say something or do something to make them tick us off, and we're already probably simmering in anger anyway. But right here, I need you to catch this. I want you to think about these things that people go through, these things I'm going to be sharing here in the book, that you never properly allow God to let you bury it. You didn't do the spiritual funeral that you're supposed to have. You didn't get the closure. You know, you didn't get the conversation. You didn't get the opportunity to say, I'm done with this and I don't want to be here no more. Okay. You just still hanging on to something. So tonight, I'm going to be talking from the book because it is a his and hers workbook, to talk about the love language. It has a toolkit in it as well with guided scenarios. We kind of talk through some things because these scars are speaking, and that's why marriages are gone straight to the courthouse. And we got so many relationships that only go for so long until those scars start to speak. And so I want to talk about here tonight a story from the beginning of what I gave you already about that couple that was really going through and that was really hiding those areas in their lives. And so tonight, I want to talk a little bit about a story from the beginning, which I talked about before the hands moved, before the mouth spoke, there was a scar, right? And so what I'm saying is those silent things, they don't stay still, they move. They show up in your tone, they show up in your reactions, they show up in your relationships, and even your ability to really receive love. I want you to meditate on that. Even before you can really receive love, you still got these things hanging around, right? So I want you just to think on this for just a minute. I want you to think about what this area in my life that I'm still kind of keeping quiet, you know. And you're not being sensitive. I want you to understand that, but you are responding to what you survived. And this is the reason why I'm doing it out of this book for this month. Next month, you don't want to miss it because I'm going to be doing it in a realm that you really need to talk about, especially those who may be dealing with family members that are same sex, or those people who are really being challenged with some other areas in their lives as relates to relationships. And so I want you to understand that the reason why I'm doing this and allowing these nightlights to be here so that we can get the wisdom that we need. And in this book, I talk about those 5 types of wisdom that you really, really need. Glory to God, about the way He's given me to kind of help people in these different ways from what I've learned from. But here, I want you to think about the reactions that you're getting from your relationship. I want you to think about, when I'm reading this, about what do you really understand about why you're sensitive or you're not very sensitive to stuff when you should be at least reacting to some things that people are trying to get you to see that bother them, or you just simply not responding to what you survived, even in what the thing that you hope that people understand what you're going through. I want you to say like that. And see, because survival without healing will always leave evidence. That means something is going to come, that somebody going to see something has happened to this person, or something is going on. Okay. So I want you to think about this workbook as I'm speaking to you now, about how I wrote it, because too many people have learned how to function, but were never taught how to heal. And so I want you to let me begin by making sure you understand about endurance. Endurance is not healing. And just because you made it through does not mean it's finished working on you. I hope you heard me. And so now this part that I'm going to be reading right now, this is where it gets real. Because many of us learned, like I said, and you just keep on going, but without you ever looking back to address these issues that hurt you. And this is the reason why, when you don't think about it, or when you don't think that it's popping up, this is when you are allowing the scars to speak, and they're moving forward, right? And so the key word I want you to know right now is to listen. Listen carefully, because these scars don't just remember pain, they remember patterns, right? Those patterns that you went through, the disappointment, the betrayal, it remember patterns. And they remember these patterns until those patterns are named, until those patterns are really ID'd, so you can pull them down and get the healing from them. They will repeat themselves. They will repeat themselves in different people's lives. They'll repeat themselves in different seasons in your life and in different relationships, right? So I want you to understand that God is talking to you. He don't want you just to think that there's no more left for your life. Okay? He wants you to recognize that something new is about to happen for you now, right? So here we go. I'm on 61, and I'm reading When Scars Speak. Like I said, a story from the very beginning. It starts out like this. I didn't write this book because I wanted to write another book. I wrote it because I kept watching good people bleed quietly. I watched couples argue about their speech tone, timing, and trust, never realizing they were not fighting each other, but the echo of old wounds that never learned how to rest. I watched men shut down, not because they didn't care, but because caring once cost them too much. I watched women become sharp with their words because softness had once left them unprotected. That's the way I used to feel. I watched parents discipline in anger, lovers withdraw in silence, and hearts make vows to their mouths, right? But never announced. And I learned something that cannot be ignored, and that's because scars speak long before people do. Scars speak before the hands reach out in defense or control. Scars speak before the mouth releases sarcasm, criticism, or contempt. Scars speak before the feet run swiftly toward mischief. Think about that in Proverbs 6 and 18. By the time behaviors show up, the scar has already been talking for years. Why? Because some scars speak through anger, some scars speak through avoidance, some scars speak through hyper independence, some speak through jealousy, some speak through overgiving, some speak through silence so loudly it punishes everyone in the room. And many people never realize that what looks like personality, what looks like attitude, what looks like rebellion, what looks like coldness, sadly to say, is often untreated pain looking for safety. Now, here we go. I'm on page 62 now. I want to try to shift and get you to hear the man's point of view in this particular issue about when they're speaking and why they're silent or why they handle things certain types of way with they have when they have these scars that they're hiding. And so he says, when a man learns to build walls instead of words, he says, I didn't grow up dreaming of emotional distance. He says, I learned it. As a boy, he learned quickly that tears were inconvenient and that questions made adults uncomfortable, that needing comfort often resulted in correction instead of care. So he learned something else: containment. Mm. Say it like that. And that's what a whole lot of us do. We keep it in until it explodes. By adulthood, his hands were skilled. He fixed things, he provided, he stayed busy, he stayed logical, he stayed guarded. But inside him lived a scar that whispered, don't ask me for what not that he said that what will not be given. In other words, don't ask me for anything that will not be given back to him. And he said, do not trust what can be taken. Do not soften where you once bled. So when conflict arose in marriage, his scar spoke first. It told his hands to fold. He told himself his jaws are going to tighten, his eyes to look away, and his silence was not peace. It was protection. And when his partner asked, why won't you talk to me? What she didn't know was this: he wasn't withholding words, he was obeying his scar. Here's her story. She says, well, when I, as a woman, learned to speak, this is because before it is time for me to forgive, because it is not forgotten. She learned early that being quiet meant being overlooked, that being agreeable meant being used, that asking gently often resulted in being dismissed. I know I'm talking to somebody right there. You know, when you start asking questions and hoping that you can get some answers about something, it just go cold, silent, don't have no information, go to bed or walk out, right? So her scar learned the language. It learned to raise its voice before it was ignored. Say la. That's what I used to do. Go way out, cuss you down, that you're not trying to pay me any attention. I'm trying to get you to understand where I'm at. It learned to control conversations before it lost ground. Hello. It learned to defend before it was wounded again. All right. Her hands moved quickly, fixing, managing, correcting, doing all that stuff to try to get over the scar that was really was lifting up and bleeding, right? Her mouth stayed ready, sharp when necessary, and guarded when tired. Inside her lived a scar that whispered, if you do not speak up, you will disappear. I know so many remember that part. where you got to get in front of the TV to get the attention from the football game or whatever. You got to get in front of that TV, and sometimes you can take all your clothes off. It ain't gonna matter because when those games are going on, you are a ghost. In this segment, she goes on to say, if you do not stay alert, you will be taken advantage of. If you do not control the moment, it will cost you later. So when conflict arose, her scar spoke first. And what sounded like criticism was often fear of being unseen again and unheard. Wow. I believe all of this, I believe God is trying to show us there's so much more that we can do when it comes to trying to face the fact that even though we try to hide that and try to live a functional life in a relationship, the fact of the matter is that we have learned these behaviors and we never got the true help with them. And so we just go on and perform it, right? Let me say this again, like I said earlier on. Endurance is not healing. And just because you made it through that last relationship that seemed like it was okay and you made it out all right, and just because you feel, I feel like now this time he's going to be the one, and this time she's going to be the one, that doesn't mean that you finished this part of the scar that's still bleeding. Now, this part is where I want you to really understand. This is when you know that God is trying to really talk to you about those things that you learned, but yet you're still bleeding about. I want you to think about where you went back when God was telling you to go forward. I want you to listen carefully to me. Scars don't remember pain, they remember patterns. And I want you to think about what pattern are you still in the season when the people that you're dealing with right now, the relationship. See, this is why it's so important for you to think about those areas that broke your heart. When you stop responding and then you start performing, right? When you start responding to what you carried for so long and never got no help. I want you to understand tonight that what you didn't give language to, what you didn't think about how it was repeating itself every time that part of that scar was lifted up of the disappointment or the betrayal or not being seen or heard, what happens is the behavior will start to speak, and it usually speaks out and lashes out in a way that's really reminding you of that scar that you never got healed. That's because the heart is trying so hard to hide, but it just can't hide, begin to ride. And so tonight, I'm praying that you will be back with me next time to listen in, because I don't want you to miss next week. I want you to be sure and be here because Prophet is going to be here with me, Prophet Roderick Thornton. He's going to be my episode 2 as a guest. And he's going to be talking out of his new book. He's spotlighting Secrets About Us. And he's talking about, in this particular realm of his book, about what most people never see. But we recognize these things, but we overlook them. And a lot of them, if you tell the truth about it, they're sleeping with the enemy. Many are sleeping with spirits, making love to these spirits. And many are walking around and these spirits are doing things to them and they just about to go out of their mind because they're constantly seeing these things are manifesting today. So what it does, it touches everything about us. So he's going to share how these secrets about us, about the things that watch us, about the traps laid out right at our feet by these spirits who hate everything about us that God made and shaped us to be. And I pray that you'll be able to join me then on this Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. So you can tune in and hear him read and talk. And as we go through some chapters live in his book, I hope you can join me here. Please go ahead and plug it into your phone so it can alarm you to be on at 8:30 p.m. Central Time on this Sunday night. Listen, like I said, next week, I'm praying that we're hoping that we can bring more people on that can give more powerful, unfiltered talk about what's really going on in their books and their lives. This is the reason why I do it this way, because you don't need to be looking at me. You need to be listening to me. You need to be listening to me about the real truth about the things that if you were watching me, you would be completely different. You probably wouldn't even be tuning in. You probably try to look and see how much weight I gained, how my hair looked, what I got on. But this is a faceless nightlight. Yeah. I think that'll be better so you can think about what I'm saying to you. You know, these things that we continue to allow our body to be in, or to allow our body to be able to be suffered by. What you don't understand is what happens that whenever these scars leave our body, and yes, they do leave our body, that's because when it's no longer just internal, that means it starts showing up in ways you can't even recognize sometime, or even you cannot realize that people see it and you try and ignore it. Right? So you don't want to miss this opportunity for us to talk next week. I'm hoping that when I come back on the 26th, that I can share what I'm talking about to you on my next page, which is 65, what happens when scars lead the body, okay? That's leading you in the shape that you're in. And you thinking that it's just you have a right to be in this anger or this shape, but actually it's the scar that's leading you. Well, this is Dr. Murphy, your host, and I pray that you don't just hear me read. I pray that you have heard some reflections from what I'm sharing here in my book. And I'll see you next time right here, and hoping that you'll join me in another nightlight. I pray that something has been said here tonight that'll make you realize, as I always say, whatever the hands thought to do and lead to do is because the hands and the heart has made a decision that the scar has been too much to handle. Right? So I'm going to say good night. But don't forget, you want to breathe, right? You want to breathe again. Come on, take one big breath. Now remember, what the hands begin to do is because the heart is speaking from that scar through you. God bless you. I pray that I can see you next time right here live. God bless you for joining me tonight. I'll see you then.
Subscribe and schedule your book or product brand interview. Text READY, book or READY brand to 281-883-9687. Go to our YouTube channel and subscribe Books and Brands Spotlight. Comment, share, weekly on Sundays. Meet me there. Got questions? Contact the host, Dr. Sandy Murphy, at eladysons@gmail.com or text 281-883-9687.